If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have a special Happy New Year announcement for you. That's right, just for beautiful, authentic you. So in this new year, I am personally plugging in all my 2022 up-leveling routines. That's right, I'm not doing goals, or as much to say as I'm not just doing a resolution that I talk about or just write it down on a list. I'm actually already scheduling in the small acts that I need to do each day that are actually going to bring me results over this 365, I guess, or less now, when you're listening in 363 to whatever it is, days. So at any rate, one of the things that I would like to introduce is that we will be having some talks on business and investing. That's right, business and investing reboots this year. So if you are looking to do a side gig, or you have a business yourself, or you're in a career and you are looking to earn some extra money, I have some tips and different things that my family, I have 6 grown children, we will all be participating in some of these and trying them out and sharing opportunities with you. And then we will also be talking about real estate investing, which is something that I have done since I was very young. So my real estate investing experience comes from, well, when I was 18 and a half years old, I bought my first little triplex. I was already working at Jet Propulsion Lab in JPL in Pasadena, California, where we have the famous Rose Bowl every year right near there. And so I saved up my money and bought this little triplex. It was very humble kind of fixer thing. And I lived in the back teeny tiny unit and rented out the best parts to everyone else. I guess I was house hacking before that was a term. And I continued to save up and invest. I was very creative on my financing, still going to school and working. So, from that to investing in many different properties, I started gift stores at 23, and the first one I leased at $5,000 a month. And I said, wait a minute, that's a lot of money to be giving to somebody, the landlord, every single month. And my mortgage, if I can save up enough to put down, I can get into a mortgage. And you know what? With business credit, which I will be sharing all about, I did just that. And business credit is a magical secret. So if you don't have a side gig, that's why that first part is important with your investing, is to have that extra income or side gig, have an LLC or an S Corp. So setting that up at 23 when I started my gift stores, by the end of the first year, I had more buying power than most people. I had a corporation's buying power. Like, they would give me credit. You can't believe I could just walk into any dealership and they'd have these specials. I'd get the best credit, like 0 interest. I'd be able to negotiate the deals on things, different vans or whatever I needed for the store. And it was just incredible. And I actually used the business credit to purchase some of the properties. One was the headquarters and rental property. And so I had some mixed use, and I actually purchased the other 4 buildings and stopped leasing and just became an owner. And so I got into real estate and investing from being an investor, and then later as other store owners were really interested in and wondered, wait a minute, you're half my age, they would say, and how are you buying buildings? What is going on? And so with that, I went ahead and I got my real estate license and started sharing about that. Worked at a small owned brokerage. And then from there, helped and led some real estate courses for real estate agents on 1031 exchange, and have done multiple 1031 exchanges and helped many small business owners and families to invest in property. So I'll be sharing about my journey and how this year, even if you think this sounds like, how is this possible? I'm going to help you figure out if that's something you're interested in, ways that you can make it become a real possibility for 2022 moving forward. So I hope you tune into my show. There will be some upgrades. We will still be doing lots of incredible interviews with amazing people sharing about resources and reboots and ways they got back on track and hearing their stories. And also, we will be getting step-to-step challenges and ways for you to tune in, call in, and ask questions and be guided to actually make 2022 a wonderful time for your business and your personal life. All right, so stay tuned. I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamack.com today.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest, Connie Osterholt. Connie has been leveraging over 25 years working directly with women business leaders in 17 countries. She has synthesized her experience as a senior executive, a strategy coach, and mentor to high net worth business women in 10 plus industries, public, private board members, and successful entrepreneurs. She has been successfully focused on the power of the feminine and masculine energy in negotiations, networks, and the nuanced areas of business and leadership. Knowing how and where to find what's really going on and help them going to the core of what's holding them back, and in easy ways to turn it around. All right, welcome to the show, Connie.
Thank you. Happy to be here. It took a while, but here we are. That's awesome.
Yes, and this show actually showed up based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And now over the last 13 or so months, we have globally experienced unimaginable situations. So I like to start off each show by asking if you have a time that you could share about to the audience in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
I can name several, but let me start with the one that it is quite a while ago, but it's one of the toughest. And I know many people can relate, Sheila, and that was when my baby daughter, when she was about to be born, there were a couple of doctors present, gynecologists, and they made one wrong decision after another. I mean, in the moment they thought they were doing good, but in hindsight, it was one wrong decision after the other, which ended in the fact that my daughter only, although she was a healthy baby, only lived for a couple of hours.
Oh.
So that was tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think It's a long time ago, so I can talk about it, right? It wasn't easy for a while because I was always crying, but it's a long time ago. And I think that on my own, I might have never gotten over it, really. I mean, with time, it gets a little bit dimmer and it gets more manageable. But what I really, and it took me a while to get there, because you go through all the stages, right, of grief. You know that. You're angry, you're in denial, right? You're bargaining and all of that. And then there's finally acceptance. And there were two things that really, really were hard for me. One, of course, was not having my daughter with me on this earth, but also how people reacted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the best reaction was, well, you're young, you get another baby.
Wow.
And it's horrible, right? Because, you know, this baby, this daughter of mine was not there. And then there was a whole way of people crossing the street when they saw me coming, and so-called friends not even reacting, right? So that was hard at the time. Since then, I learned that people really don't know how to deal with grief. They don't know. So they kind of stuck, and they avoid you or don't say anything or say the wrong thing. And, you know, they really don't know. And it took me quite a while to find ways of making sense to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it was through personal development that I discovered that it was not my fault. Because it's the first one you go to, right? The if only game, if only I would have, right? And that would never work, of course. But that I wasn't to blame. That was one thing. And that I didn't need to suffer. And that I could be myself. Because what do you do when your child dies is you put them a brave mask. Society, 6 weeks, that's about it. You can mourn for 6 weeks and then get on with it. They don't say it like that, but that was the general feeling, right? So you put on a mask and a mask and a mask. I'm good. I'm doing good. So it's discovery that I'm not guilty, that I can live myself, that I can make sense of it. And most important, that I can choose my emotions.
Yeah.
So it's not that I put my emotions aside and say, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I don't care what happened. Of course not.
Right.
I mean, it hurts. It hurts deeply.
Right.
But to know that I too can have a normal life and I don't have to constantly live in the past. And I now know, and it sounds a little bit esoteric, I know that my daughter's energy is still around me. You know, and there was a purpose to it. And I didn't want to acknowledge that for a long time. Mm-hmm. But my point is that, and that is linking into your show, I think, is that you can choose your emotions.
Yes.
And we have all the emotions in the world, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we will experience all of them. But we can choose to spend very little time in the emotions that don't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Spend the most time in the emotions that would serve you, that help you make your life more happy, fulfilled, make your business more good. And I think that's the core of it. In business, in times like we had last year, it was tough for many, many people, many different fronts, to choose your emotions. It's okay to have, and like, you know, when something small happens, it's okay to be, you know, whatever, peeved for 5 minutes, right? When something more serious happens, of course, you take more time. But make sure that you live your life as happy and fulfilled and successful as possible. And that goes hand in hand with the emotional state you live in.
That's beautiful. And that's so true. And I have interviewed many people who have lost a child. And I also lost my youngest son, Michael, who had a heart condition. So we actually almost lost him in 5th grade. And then we got to keep him extra years, and he passed away last year at 22. And we, as a family, oh my gosh, you know, had to model, how do we express our emotions without letting the emotions take over every part of our life? And we
did all the counseling and worked and discussions, and it was, thank goodness for so much personal development training. Like my son was my daughter's best friend. She did the training with Chloe Madonis, the mentorship program that Chloe had. My daughter and I went together, and she's studying psychology. So we had some discussions, psychological. It would be 3:00 in the morning. Mom, I can't sleep. Let's talk all night. And that's what we did. And there were those friends and people for her and for myself and for my other kids that were not understanding or didn't know what to do or what to say, or showed up in a weird way that felt different. And we had a lot of talks about that. Because if they haven't walked or they haven't experienced that, they can't even fathom it, then it's hard for them to know, what do you say or do, or how do you feel? And so it's not a personal thing. And the more we can talk about going through these things openly, the easier it is for other people. And this last year, I think we've all had grief in so many ways. Grief at the way the world was, the way the world is, maybe changing jobs, or some people got divorced, some people got married.
Exactly. Yeah. So some people had the best time in their life, and others were really deeply struggling.
Right. And so to be able to realize what matters most, I think that's what this universal pause really taught my family. And I was just, does it matter? What really matters? Love, family, friends, community. We can always do something else for work. It's all good. But what really matters is those things. If you don't have those, what are you working for? If you're not working to serve the community, and you can serve in any way, then it doesn't really matter. So
absolutely. It makes me think of, if I may, it makes me think of, like, I had many years, no, not that long ago, but 10 years ago, a monk in my house, or like an Indian movement that promoted oneness. Everybody is the same. Underneath everything, everybody is the same. And I had some people who were not experienced in spirituality or being around monks or whatnot. And one of them said, what is the purpose of life? Huge question, right? And the purpose of life, he had to think about it. And then he said, the purpose of life is to be happy. So, and I was going, well, is that shallow? Is that superficial? No, we can really be happy, but it doesn't always come easy.
Right.
And if you sit and wait till the outside world is providing you with happiness, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. So, and I love what you said about, despite everything that people went through, and a lot was happening. It's like finding those moments, finding the people, and finding the experiences that are meaningful and fulfilling. So it makes you happy. And friends and family, yes, absolutely. Love in many, many forms. That's what it's about.
Yes. And I know that for me, I had so many people that said, okay, you'll get into a relationship and then you'll be happy. Or you'll have this house or that place or whatever, XYZ, and you're going to be happy. And I was like, wait a minute, I already am happy. And as I got more and more happy with my own life and where I was at, and found happiness in the little things and the big things that showed up, more happy people, places, and things showed up for me. And it wasn't, my happiness isn't going to depend on those outside circumstances. Yes, you're going to grieve the loss of a loved one. Yes, you're going to go through, I mean, this is normal to go through a grieving over this last year. But when you own your happiness, you're empowered. Nobody gets to be over you on that. Person, place, or thing. You own that.
Absolutely. And when you make that your core, no matter what happens, big, small things, you will always come back to that core. And that is, I think, what's most important, because from that place, like you said too, you attract, instead of like resisting things or not recognize or acknowledge opportunities. And in friends and love and business, it's attracting likewise, right? You're attracting happy people as well.
That's
exactly. And you can pick and choose. It's abundance. And I think that is for a lot of people, not everybody, because you and I are blessed to be in a social network of people that done a lot of work on themselves. And, they are able to overcome negativity, overcome resistance, overcome the things that are taken away. They are not all, but most of them are very good at it. But it's like you said in the beginning, it's you can create new things, but you have to be in that state, that right state of mind. And no matter the COVID year, no matter where your business is, no matter where your relationship is, but when you come from that right state of mind, so the feelings, the emotions, the focus, then it's easier to attract and live in abundance. And abundance means something different for everybody.
Yes. Yes. Imagine some people's definition of abundance is another person's hell. It's like, I wouldn't want to do that. That's not fun at all. And so what you want and what I want and what somebody else wants is so different. And it's all beautiful and okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. That makes it easier. I would love to hear more about your coaching with women and some of the programs you do and the process and more about that.
Yeah. So I have been officially in the business for 25 years. I don't know where the time went, but it's 25 years. And before that, I was doing kind of similar things, but I didn't put it under a name, right? And I have been very blessed to have coached, to have helped like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, either in a group or individual over the years. So you learn a couple of things, right? When you work with that many people. And how would I say that? Men and women are very different, or I should say feminine energy and masculine energy is very different, right? It doesn't matter where you are, but it matters where you are in your core. And if you think and you make it your reality that you cannot live from your core in business, in life, you make it hard on yourself. So a very common thought or belief is that women in business need to be tough and need to be masculine in order to count. Mm-hmm. So because we are so different, and although we've done great work as women, we still came late to the game, right? We came to a man's world. It's been a while, but we still came to a man's world. So you expecting to be a man gives you trouble, but you expecting to be a man gives the men in your environment trouble too, because they don't know how to deal with that. And there's a whole adaptation of how do you do that? I'm a speaker as well. I have to speak differently than a man does. And people are used to a man speaking, and he can have his hands in his pocket and, and say anything. But as a woman, you have to display more care and more smiling and do it in a different way, in your own way. So I got intrigued by all of that, right? And even in the speaking world where I was speaking, there was still that dichotomy that people said, oh, as a woman on stage, people will not listen to you. Mm-hmm. And, when they have to choose between a woman and a man, they will always choose the man. So there were beliefs and thoughts that I didn't like. And some of that might have been reality, but I never chose to accept that as a reality. So I think it came from there. Now, probably it came from earlier on, way earlier on. I just didn't know how to label it yet. But it's about who you are. Mm-hmm. And it's about your talents and your passion and your interest and your motivation. And ideal would be when we live in a world where everybody can accept each other. It's not the case, right? You are best, but it's not the case. But to know how to deal with situations and not fall into the trap of being somebody different than you really are is an art. And it's not being taught. So that's where I come in, and I've helped many women, but also men, understanding the women in their group and business, how to bring out the best in each other, and how to be cohesive and be a team and play your strengths. And that is just, I love that. I love that. Because you see, does that make sense?
Yes. So beautiful and important. I was really blessed years ago as this young girl raised by a grandmother, and she had all these other women that were neighbors where I grew up in her home for a little while, and they would have tea. And in this tea, they would tell their stories. It was these stoic women, but they were very in their feminine. It was before things changed. Right. Yet they were new to this world. They may have been the first women to own businesses or take over the husband's business because the husband passed away or whatever it was. And so that's what I grew up with. Those women were my mentors, and that was normal. So a lot of times people would say, well, you're so feminine, Sheila, but how do you run a business? And it's like, that's the way I saw everybody, all the women that I was surrounded with. That's how they ran their business. And they never tried to change to fit into the man's world because they used the femininity to bring that into the business, and they were very successul.
There you go. Well done. Everybody should grow up like that with the male role models and the female role models. That is fantastic. It's beautiful. But a lot of people are confused on how to deal with certain things. At one point, and I have a product coming out on that, but at one point I started collecting pet grievances, right? Mm-hmm. So your job, what do you run into? What is the thing you dislike? And you got all these different questions. Are my co-workers think I'm a bitch, right? My boss has an old boys network and I'm never included. Right? How can I not appear weak? How do I react when men say, honey, you get the coffee while they have a meeting, right? Stuff like that. And we all know those examples. And I'm not pointing fingers at men because they need to educate too how to bring that into a team. But I'm educating both how to deal with it. Because for a while, it seems that, my mother's time, it was like my dad had the power. My mom was more submissive. Money was brought in by my dad. Mom was doing the household and the kids. So it was very defined. And that definition has gone. So it's kind of equal, but stay in equality is also not very exciting. It can become bland. Yes. But to play your own strengths and to see how that fits in a team and how you can benefit from who you are at your core is something that fascinates me. And that's what I do a lot in coaching and mentoring, how to deal with it. Do you take it as an insult that people say, hey, can you get me my coffee? Or you laugh about it and you say, okay, next time it's your turn.
Right.
Or, hey, I'm busy. I take it with sugar and milk. Thank you. Right? It's you don't have to take it on like it's an insult. It's just what happens. And what's most important is how you react to it.
That is so true. And coming from the speaking world, I did a 1-year speaking tour a while back. And when I did that, it was very different for the men than the women as far as expectations. I mean, you have to have more makeup. You have to have everything perfect. You've got to be this. You've got to be that. Oh my gosh, don't eat too much. You got to be everything had to be a certain way. And the standards for women versus men getting on stage were incredibly different. So it was like 2% of the population of speakers are women because of this craziness. The guy come in, not even do his hair, little belly showing and a t-shirt and be like, hey, I'm
and the people go, okay, tell me.
Great. But and then a woman, it's like, no, you've got to be dressed perfectly, and you could never just come in a t-shirt. And
Right.
so and I was like, oh, well, it's no wonder. And there's no time you have to do a lot of self-care to, get everything, the hair done every other day and everything done right. So there was a lot of pressure in that. I found that was like, wow, that's kind of overwhelming. And it's interesting because the judgment not only came from the men in the audience, but it would also come from the women equally or so. And so that's something that has changed somewhat. Now, this was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I did that. And it's changed over time where people are like, oh, that's refreshing. Thank goodness. Okay, I can breathe too a little bit. And it's more real now.
Yeah.
There's there's a change in maybe the consciousness of the audience, let's just say, and what's acceptable or what's considered not reasonable.
Yeah, and there's definitely, you said it so right, a change in the rules or the perception of the audience. Mm-hmm. So women are more supportive, I find. And women really applaud when there's another woman on stage. They go inwards like, yay, we have a woman there, right? Mm-hmm. But also men, they also change, because if you stay authentically with who you are, how you are at your core, they will love that.
Right.
When I first started, and I never wrote that book because people laughed at me at that time. It was about the subject of flirting. And I say, well, flirting is not only like in an intimate or, boyfriend, girlfriend kind of way, but you flirt with life. Mm-hmm. And if you look up the definition of flirting, it's banter, right? So when you, and I don't know if it sounds strange, but hear me out. If you flirt with your audience, men, women, kids alike, then you bring that playful atmosphere to the stage, which is way more engaging. Yeah. So it's like flirt in your life, not necessarily with a sexual connotation, but just bantering and make each other happy. And it's way more fun to go through life like that. But it all has to do how confident you are in your identity, who you are at your core, and how you can deal with people who think otherwise.
Yes. And many times they become your greatest fans later because they're living in this box themselves.
Yeah.
The rule of I need to be this way, and it's a little bit rigid. And then they're like, okay, there's somebody that's free. I want to do that too. How can I just be myself?
Exactly.
The other question, when people are doing this work, a lot of times people are trying to change. Maybe they have an addiction or they're getting out of an abusive situation, and they have family and friends that are supporting them or trying to support them. What advice do you have for those people that are supporting a loved one who's working really hard to make a change and apply what they've learned?
I think when it comes to family members or great friends, it's just love them. Mm-hmm. Love them through it. Keep on seeing who they really are. You love the person that they are. You might not condone their behavior, but keep on loving the person that they are inside. And maybe together, if they're open for it, decide what the best approach is by a professional.
Yeah.
And I think love and support is so important. And a lot of people do not know that. They think that they don't do nothing. But it's the most important you can do.
Yes. And catching them doing right or having the big wins, which sometimes are the little wins. Sometimes, I mean, if they're going through something, it might be, you got out of bed today. That's a big win. Whatever it is. Celebrating the big wins and having that loving patience with loved one when they run into that. Anyone you work with, when you coach, they're going to have those times where they go back to the pattern and then awareness kicks in later. Yeah. And that's still a win because the awareness kicked in. It's just it's a little time. It's a little step. And instead of beating yourself up, if you're the one doing the process, or beating the loved one up, to catch the good parts. I think that really makes a difference in getting to the other side of it, and knowing triggers are gonna show up, and then it might be that it's less of a trigger, or you're aware and you can do something different.
Exactly.
Yes.
And of course, it's sometimes not easy when people are seriously addicted.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have professional help, and you need to really be careful who you hire, right? And where you send your people, but also to realize that you might not be the person to give them that help.
Yeah.
Because often that help is based on tough love. And then you love somebody. It's hard to do the tough love, right? In many ways we can, but in huge ways we cannot. So it's accepting that your job is just to love them for who they are. It makes it easier to say, well, this is beyond my scope. I need professional help.
I think that's the beauty. I point this out to a lot of people where it's like you think of a pastor, a priest, a rabbi, someone that's guiding someone, and they have a community of hundreds of people, and they always give advice and help people, but many times they have to refer out to a specialist for certain things.
Yeah.
And that is to know when you can support someone as much as you can and when you need to refer out. And that's just so much easier to know you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And to get your own coach or help to help you in the ways that you can help work on you and supporting whoever that loved one is in your life that you want to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you go to bed at night and you say, I've done the best I could with everything I know, with everything I learned, then that's a good day. But be realistic, because addiction, you cannot solve the problem for them. And there's a reason they're addicted. I call it escapism. There's a reason for it. And, they need to go deep inside when they want to find it, and then have a more healthy coping mechanism with whatever is going on. And it's a tough subject.
It is.
It's a tough subject, but also, and that sounds... Well, I say a lot of things that sound maybe strange, but it's not let your guilt become your crutch. It's people feel... I met somebody and his son died of an overdose, and that was 7 years ago. And I'm not saying that after 7 years it's any easier, but what was really horrible for him, that he was holding on to that image that he could have saved his son. And I think as a parent, and you must know that, right? As a parent, that's kind of your job, right? To protect your kids and to make sure they have the best life possible. But it's, if you can honestly say to yourself, I've done everything I could. There is a bigger something out there, however name you give it, that is sometimes has a different outcome for things, and the outcome we do not like.
Right.
But, we are not playing God or playing the almighty universe or Buddha or whatnot, right? It's, you need to do your utmost, your best that you can possibly do. Love at your best. And when that's not enough, seek professional help. And when that's not enough, then there's a whole other spiritual discussion. Right. And I just want to mention one book that really, really helped me. And that is Sacred Souls. So it's under the header of that souls, are somewhere. And then when a kid or a child gets born, there is a contract attached to it. So the contract comes and says that this kid is going to be a child of divorced parents, and and there's abandonment issues and blah, 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 right? And then one of the souls go, okay, I can handle that. Wow. And that might be for a long time, that might be for a short time, and that's kind of the law of the universe. And we human beings cannot really influence that. So it's in a way how I started making sense of what happened to my baby girl. There is a reason. There's a bigger reason. I might not know it. I might never know it, but there must be a bigger reason.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And a connection that continues. Like you said, your daughter's with you, my son's with me. That connection we feel, signs that show up. And scientifically, when you look at anyone that's crossing over, they're already talking to people on the other side before they leave their body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any country on the planet, they have the same experience. There's a connection between science and spirituality that we're just now figuring out.
Yeah.
And that's to surrender. Sometimes we have to surrender to what is and do our best, and then be guided and listen to what our next action is. And sometimes those baby steps that get us out and on track.
Yeah, I agree. And by no means, I mean, well, something bad happens and you go, oh, well, and then move on. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And, but I think, love people, period. Mm-hmm. Even when they go through really bad times, just love them. And seek guidance, seek counseling, seek professionals in however way you can. It doesn't always work either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's to do your best and know you've done your best and your utmost. I think that's all we can do as human beings.
Yes. Now, I would love for you to share, if someone was to come to you to start on one of these journeys with you for getting into the masculine and feminine and really finding their authentic truth, what do they need to do? How do they connect with you? What does the process look like?
Right. So connect with me through social media or through my website or through my phone number. I don't know if you have that available somewhere. And otherwise, I hope you publish it. And just then we will have a conversation about what you need and if we are a good match. Okay. So it's, and I have, again, a program coming out about feminine business leaders. So maybe that's a good fit. Maybe private coaching is a good fit. Maybe, group coaching or seminar is a good fit. But let me help you. If you need help, let me help you. I've learned so much. I've studied so much. And I have certificates up to the wazoo because I always want to grow and learn new things, that there's always a way to help you. Mm-hmm. And that is what I do. I love helping people and love to get them to an authentic, happy, and fulfilled place.
Beautiful. And now, do you have a website for people to connect?
Yeah. My website is Dr. Connie, Dr. Connie, so DrConnie, online, all one word, .com.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. If you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I wanted to take a moment to reflect on one of my favorite authors and quotes. The quote is, "Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you're ready or not to put this plan into action." And the author was Napoleon Hill. Now, my memory, or my first meeting with Napoleon Hill, was actually back when I was 8 years old, and I did actually mention it in my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. This was such a changing point in my life. I was 8 years old. I was living house to house. My family was not, my mother and father were having health issues. They weren't really able to care for me full time, so I was sent from one relative's house to the other. Sometimes I was with the healthy grandparents. Sometimes I was with a group of grandparents that wasn't so healthy, and there was a lot of abuse going on. And at this point, I was 8 years old. I remember I was actually in a nice neighborhood. Unfortunately, the home had a lot of abuse going on. My mother was home with me for a short time, and I had taken up some little part-time jobs helping out in the neighborhood. So I would literally, this is back in the day when this was, I guess, the normal thing, I would go help out with cutting the lawn or cleaning and actually polishing furniture when people actually did that. And I would go do that for the neighbors and get money. And so I went with my hard-earned money, and I went over to another neighbor's house who was having a garage sale, and I found this incredible book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And at the time, my little 8-year-old mind, okay, this is 8-year-old mind, there was a lot of abuse, and my mother wasn't financially able to, or health-wise able to help me. She had polio as a child, and she had some other issues going on and emotional things, and so it was hard for her. And in my mind, I thought, okay, this book is going to do it, because it is going to tell me how to think and grow rich. And I really need to do that, because I wanted to get my own house or apartment for my mother and I, so that we wouldn't have to be moving around, and she would be in a safe place and I would be in a safe place. And so I took this book home and I slept with the book. I read the book, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, from cover to cover. This little 8-year-old girl, I read that book over and over again for an entire year, and I literally still have that original copy with me today. I keep it on my nightstand by my bed, and I still reread it from time to time, and it has been such an incredible gift. And I think that somehow it was something that the principles in there, I took that to heart, a lot of the principles in there, and I really lived by a lot of that, and the idea of creating a definite plan for carrying out your desire and beginning at once, whether you're ready or not. I also would like to share with you some other things that I also offer. I do have Mastermind live weekly courses, and those are available at SheilaMac.com, SheilaMac.com. And there right now, for this month, all the courses are on sale for January for our New Year's kickoff. And I have actually opened up a few more afternoon spots and days, so we have some new course availabilities. If you are looking for courses, a mastermind group, they're small groups. I lead all the courses. I do actually have a few co-leaders and special guests that come on throughout the month, and these are 1 month at a time, or you can take the course and continue with the group for up to 12 months. Depending on what you're doing, we use the Boots formula, and that's something I teach about. There's a free course that you take, a mini course that teaches you about the Boots formula. You can also align it with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action. And that Boots formula is something that I've used with many of my clients, and I've used myself, and that's why I came up with the formula. And it's helped me get back on track whenever I've hit a difficult spot in life. And life does have waves. We have to learn how to surf, of course. So getting through parenting. So I have parenting courses. I raised 6 amazing children that are now all college and above. And so 3 are mine, 3 I fostered to adopt. So I have a diverse, beautiful, incredible family and lots of experience raising children. And then I also have one on elder care there. So if you are dealing with maybe having your elders back at home, or helping your parents and now you're parenting your parents, that is a big thing. And there's a lot of pieces to that. I actually took care of all my relatives that they've all passed away now, but parents, grandparents, And I was the one in charge of everyone at a young age, where everybody was needing different care because I had grandparents and the parents could not take care of my grandparents. So I had quite a bit of experience in that. And so we have small groups that work on how to deal with those issues and having those sacred conversations with our parents. We also have Breaking Free from Addiction. We have a course on self-care and spirituality, and then lifestyle design. And this is a great time if you have hit some rock bottoms last year and you are now ready. This is a clean slate, and it is a great time to now redesign your life, reinvent your life on your terms. We do use the Boots formula. We have small groups, and we have real live discussions and answers to help you, support you getting through your lifestyle design to get you back on track and rebooted as quickly as possible. So check those out at www.sheilamac.com. And also you can get the book. It is now a best-selling book. It is available on Audible, Kindle, hardcover, softcover, and also I had a blast. I have to tell you, I had a blast doing the Audible recordings in a studio in Southern California. And this was actually done before the lockdowns, actually in late 2019. One of the last memories I have of when the world was different before we had to wear masks. And so it was a beautiful experience, and I hope you enjoy that book. This month, I am also donating one book or one course to someone in a homeless shelter. I'm focused on moms in homeless shelters that are trying to get back on their feet and reboot. And so I'm gifting them books, and I'm also gifting them with the ability to attend some of these courses as well to help them quickly and easily get back on their feet with the support of a good group. And I think that makes all the difference. So I look forward to seeing you in one of the classes, or when we tune in next time here on NBC's Sheila Mac Show. All right. As always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps you build the red corpuscles in the blood, which can carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1 pound package of tea is $34.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
Honored to be a guest also recently on Carrie Roberts' Extraordinary Things podcast. And one of the things that we talked about was the word for the day. And this is, what is your one word mantra that helps you to stay on track and focused even through these very interesting times? So here's my response to Carrie's question about the one word mantra.
I like to ask all my guests, Sheila, is what is one word or quote or mantra that you try to live by every single day?
That's the being. In all I'm doing, it's who I'm being. So whether I'm walking my puppies, cleaning my house, working with my clients, having fun with family and friends, it's who I'm being, how I'm showing up, that's going to make all the difference.
I love it. Well, I congratulate you on your growth as a person, your ability to be perseverant and work hard to live the life that you want, even when it comes at you unexpectedly and crazy, and how you're helping others to do the same. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and I look forward to hearing more.
All right. Thank you.
Is not one size fits all. This is Sheila Mack. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned.